All right. So do please raise your voice. Not to worry. I'm going to. This is what will happen. I will introduce to you first. A short. I'll do a short introduction, and then I'll turn to you, and then we begin to talk.
Sure.
Okay. And of course, this week you're going to be talking about music, right? And please tell us what you're going to talk about, also. And then and so that's how it is. So I'm going to tell them that you're this, and you're an accomplished blues guitar player in India since 1980. Okay, good. You ready?
I'm ready to go. Yeah.
Just look at the camera for a short while.
Yeah.
1, 2, and 3. Hi, welcome to the National Quiz Choice Online News, and welcome to my show again, the Stienberg Review. And today's guest we have Mr. Anupam Gupta, who is actually an accomplished blues guitar player in India, and he's been playing since 1980. And he's also the Chief Executive Officer for the Elephant Sound Sense, and he's also one of the pioneers of the application of music as known intelligence to engage right brain, resulting to challenges, innovation, introspection, co-creation, and teamwork in organization. And now we're going to find out more about his life's work and also his perspective on music and the business as well. Mr. Anupam, welcome to my show.
Thank you so much for
inviting me. I mean, you've flown all the way here from India.
Yeah, I've come from Delhi.
And wow, India's a great country full of culture and music. For what I know.
Yeah.
And you guys make a lot of movies too.
Oh, we make a lot of movies all across the country. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Now tell me, how do you first started cultivating your passion in blues? I mean, you're a blues guitar player.
I
right?
am a blues guitar player. See, I have grown up in a city called Calcutta, which is on the eastern part of India. It's in a state called Bengal. And this was in the 80s. And in my city, that point of time, everybody would play the blues.
But why blues?
Why blues is primarily, I think, the effects of the 60s Woodstock era had a strong effect on India, especially the place where I come from. And jazz and blues has been a part of the musical culture, the heritage of the city where I come. As a matter of fact, my city has produced not many musicians across the country. So primarily it is also because of Calcutta being probably the capital when the British were there. So the influence to Western music was very prominent. And then also I believe that one point of time Jimi Hendrix came to Kathmandu, the Beatles came to North India. The effect of all that in Calcutta has been immense. So across everybody, and it is a very soulful city, so blues is soulful music, It is not about getting up and dancing and doing a little rock and roll. But here rock and roll would mean where I play something called the flattened 7th note or a flattened 5th note, and it touches my soul. So the city is very soulful, and hence probably blues.
Wow. Now speaking about being a blues guitar player, what is it like to begin your career as a musician during that time? And were your family were supportive about it?
That's an interesting question. 1980s I'm talking about, playing guitar, and see, I was growing up to The Doors, Jim Morrison, I was growing up to Eric Clapton, I was growing up to Mark Knopfler, which is Dire Straits at that point of time. And playing guitar was something, when if you're wearing a pair of denim and with long hair and you're playing the guitar, you were not the right guy in the city. So the neighbors were kind of skeptical about what is this guy doing. But it was tough. It was not easy to take music as a career. My family was not too happy about it. I come from a shipping business. My family is involved in shipping business. So they all wanted me to probably go into the maritime trade. So it was tough. It was not easy. And there was no money also in music.
Oh yeah?
Oh, there was no money. This is, even till date, only a section of the people in the music industry, actually, I think across the world make money. Most of them don't make money.
Huh. Now, how did you accomplish yourself as one of the most accomplished musicians in India in this category of as a blues guitar player? I mean, you said that not everybody could make money out of it, but how do you manage to do that as a business?
See, I don't make money by playing the blues, and that was a conscious decision on my part that I am not going to play. I'm not trying to demean any genre of music, but I never wanted to play other forms of commercial music to earn money. I had the options and the privileges to do that. I don't know how accomplished I am, but I'm playing blues for the last 32 years and I'm so happy doing that. And blues is a completely non-commercial form of music. People, I think across the world, would not like to pay up tons of money to go and watch a blues show, except for if you're a BB King, that's okay. But if you're Anupams and Gupta, nobody knows. If I go to any other city to play the blues, it'll only the sound that will attract a certain amount of people. So there is no money involved in this entire scenario. So the thought was completely different. I thought I have to stay with music. I have to play music. I have to survive playing music and yet play my blues. So I was struggling. I started teaching. I started teaching the guitar. A lot of stuff happened. Some of my students have even opened for Metallica in India. But then I realized that still it was not taking me anywhere. I started experimenting with workshop formats, how we can use music for people and brand development in organizations. So that is how I make my money. I make my money by doing something which I also love, which is conducting sessions, using various musical techniques for organizational development, people development, brand development in corporate.
Wow. Now, what is music in India? And what's the definition of music to people in India?
Music is extremely important in every household probably in India because, as you know, we come from a very old culture. I mean, the culture is extremely ancient in terms of the time. Probably it's very difficult to put a timeline to it. And music has been a very, very important part of be it prayers, be it concerts, and as you know, India, you have a lot of movies coming out from down south, which is Chennai, the other parts. You have movies coming out from Bollywood, which is Bombay. Where I come from, Calcutta, the industry had gone down, it has come up again. So every movie, commercial movie needs music. Every commercial movie needs popular songs to sell the movie. So music is happening all across, all across. And if you go back in time, classical music has been extremely, extremely critical in terms of the social development, cultural development of Indian people. If you do a prayer song, it is based on a classical scale, a raga. And classical music is something, I mean, it's very difficult to do, like I said, to put a timeline to the classical music in India. It's a part and parcel of our culture. But today, like I said, what has happened is because of the popularity, the commercial aspect of it, popular songs are coming from the movies, from albums. So music is all over, be it classical or be it contemporary, it is all over.
Now, what is the trend right now in India in terms of music? Where do you see India going? Are they becoming more contemporary and pop wise, or are they more still inclined to the traditional and fused with other forms of music that was part of the Indian culture?
See, I see three different things happening definitely, and all have their own merits. One is pop, definitely is extremely popular. I mean, pop is popular because of the cinematic structures or because of the movies with so much of impact in daily life in India. If there is a movie, people follow movie stars, people follow who's making a movie, what is happening. It's like a part and parcel of life there. So pop music is extremely critical there. Most of the commercial movies have pop music. Now comes the classical section. There is a section of people who, if you go to a classical concert, it is sold out. Especially this time of the year, where you have a section of people who are dedicatedly classical connoisseurs. They love classical music. There are hardcore musicians, young boys and girls who also go for classical training. And the third section is very interesting. Some very good musicians in India. who are mixing both. So it may not be pop, maybe it be jazz or and some folk or classical element. So that there's a third nature of sound which is coming out, and there's a huge lot of people getting into the industry now because of the width of scope.
Oh wow! Now, speaking about music, in India, isn't it true that people who are able to cultivate innovation and creativity is because, and also due to the fact it's got to do with the environment and the culture that they are brought up in. Could you elaborate on that? Because you are a specialist in rediscovering potential, on the individual.
I didn't quite get that question. Well, could you help me understand one more time?
Well, the question is this: is it true that most musicians, or people who are able to cultivate music talent and able to innovate and compose songs has got to do with the environment that they are brought up in and the
Okay.
culture in the country or in a family setting?
I'll be very honest, I have a little different kind of a thought process for this. Even in my workshops, I share this. I'm a strong believer that music as an art is prevalent in everybody. Some people get the opportunity to build a skill set. Like I play the guitar, so I was not born with a guitar in hand. I mean, I had to practice for a while to play whatever little I play. So, but the sense of music is there in everybody. And I'll give you something I'll give you a different kind of an answer. You'll understand. When I go to a workshop, I do this workshop called the Anthems for the corporate, where participants translate their corporate values into lyrics, compose songs, they perform and record it on site, which is their corporate organizational anthem, which becomes their oral identity. And here we're talking about a bunch of people who have never done music ever in their lives. But in a half a day format, end of it, they have a hardcore professional production of an anthem which they have written, they have conceived, written, composed, sung, and recorded on site. Which means everybody has it. Somebody needs to nurture it. Somebody needs to trigger it. Somebody needs to facilitate it. So talking about environment, definitely they make a difference. I mean, if I go beyond the workshop scenario in a day-to-day life, you definitely need motivation more than anything else. If you got a keyboard and you're trying to play something and suddenly somebody says that, oh, this is not sounding good, your entire motivation to compose something is gone. So I think more than anything else, the motivation is required as a part of the environment. If you're talking
Now,
about
how can one discover their potential? Because you said that each of us has a potential to create, to innovate. How can we do that? If we are at a disadvantage, supposing someone from the corporation or someone at the work in a small company, or even for a student studying in a university or high school, they don't have the opportunity or they don't have a coach to motivate them. Where can they find, or what other avenues can they go about finding their potential?
See, a potential is something which can be identified, I feel, by two ways. By an external person trying to help you identify it, or you identify it yourself. But maybe to answer this, I have to answer it a little differently. I think parents, for a growing child, I'll answer you in a little different way. For a growing child, it is very important for the parent to expose the child to visual understandings, which means you give them a bunch of colors, to let them do what they want to do, to expose them to various kinds of sounds, be it percussion, be it guitar, be it the drums, or give them a small little drum and let the child play around. Give them a small little toy to play around which produces musical sound. You will see the child will automatically come to a stage where the child has the realization to understand and identify the potential within. So it is a lot about with the growing exposure during the growing time. Talking about the other people, grown-up people, it is about doing a little introspection. We need to all go little inside. Everybody, I think, wanted to be a rock star or a movie star or a writer or a poet or a model or something. But many times, most of the times, people take a different route. Somebody becomes a CEO, somebody becomes a doctor, somebody becomes an engineer. But somewhere down the line, that thing is still there inside. One has to probably sit back and introspect. And if you identify that I want to do guitar, maybe go to a guitar class.
Now, you're speaking at a conference this week here at the Singapore Management
I'm speaking
University.
tomorrow.
Yes, right, at the Singapore Management University.
Mhm.
Tell us, what kind of key subjects and notes of which you will be addressing about?
The subject matter that I'm talking about, I call it intelligent application of sound for people and brand development. Music music primarily is seen as entertainment. Here we're talking about taking sound to an organization and using it as a very, very important tool to reach out to people for team engagement, for value dissemination, for internal branding exercise, for creative challenges, and there are various other ways. Yeah, I'm talking about how one can do it in organizations. I'm talking about how I do it in organizations, how I use sound for for a group of CEOs or at the induction program level where people have just joined from BA schools for value dissemination, team bonding, emotional resilience for that matter. So yeah, I'm sharing the different processes that I use, and I'm also setting some reference points. I'm citing, substantiating it with certain scientific research, and how music should be used. For example, in a store, how inappropriate music can actually, rather than making good business for you, can have a negative impact on your sales.
Oh, okay.
And these are all researches I'm talking about.
Is it true that if someone were to listen to rock music, or heavy metal music, is bad for your heart? I mean, some people have written on papers like this, and some say that if you listen to classical music, it is good for your heart. What is your take?
Well, I think what is good for your heart is what you like. I mean, if I don't like something and you really expose me to that, it may not be good for my heart. But for a headbanger, he probably likes his sound. But I think there is a scientific aspect to it. See, the problem with rock music, just to deviate a little bit, problem with rock music is that the focal point, the focus has changed. Rock music began as a platform to rebel against aggression. Rock music happened because people wanted to, they wanted a free life, people didn't want wars, people didn't want fights, people wanted a happy life. But today, rock music has unfortunately become a platform to be aggressive. Rock music has become a platform to, really let you, if you listen to the lyrics and you realize what I'm trying to say. So I think the focus has changed, but it's not about that. It is about what you like to do. End of the day.
Now, let's move forward. To actually rediscover one. What's your take on music? What is music to you these days?
Music always has been a part of my five senses. It is one of the critical senses for me. Music is as much as me being able to hear a sound. Music is as much as me being able to express myself. So music helps me to talk. Music helps me to express my emotions, which otherwise I am probably not able to do.
Now you said that you're trying to encourage people to engage the right brain, intelligence, so that they can think and innovate in your workshop. Could you elaborate more on some of your?
See, the concept in the world is gradually changing. It's no more a right brain or a left brain. It is not about the logical brain or the emotional brain. But if you go back to a little old world thinking, when I say old world, I'm talking about 4, 5, 10 years back. People think that we can use the left brain to reach out to the right brain, or the right brain to reach out to the left brain. But I think the world is now talking about the whole brain, and the whole brain needs emotion as much as you need your logic. So music here plays a critical role in engaging people in rediscovering themselves, their emotions, identifying with them, and converting them into whatever for certain objectives, or converting it for them for certain goals, or so end of the day, it's just a whole brain approach that works. And music is, like I said, one of the critical tools for, like visual arts is also a critical tool for the emotion to be developed in human.
Now, how did you manage to, or should I say, sorry, let me rephrase that question. Could you share with us, 3 key advice on how one, could set out to perform as a performer in a niche market like yours? You are a accomplished blues guitar player, and at the same time, because Singapore, a country like Singapore, Malaysia, and other parts of ASEAN countries who are emerging economies are trying to build a music career for themselves. So how can they build a viable business for themselves, especially an artist who is just a one-man operation like yourself, I think?
No, I'm not. I have an entire organization.
Yes, of course.
It's very difficult to advise, because I personally don't believe in advices. One should realize and choose a path, because many times advices, what I feel right may not be right for you. But still, I would say one of the critical things is to do music. If you talk about music, or anything for that matter, to do music because you love it, because you got a passion for it, you got a desire for it, you got a fire in the belly for it, not because it is glamorous. So you need to do it because you love it, period. Not because you want to go up on the stage to be a rock star. Of course, it becomes a drive for people because you're chased by a few million girls. That is important for the glamour's sake, but end of the day, you have to love your music to do that. So be passionate about what you're doing. There's nothing new that I'm saying. 2 is, it is important to be disciplined. We artists of various types generally indulge in a little non-structured life, which means I can get up at 12 o'clock in the afternoon and go off to sleep at 4 in the morning. So our structure of life is a little different. Our sense of punctuality, timing is also not very there, So there's a certain amount of discipline is required, because today music is a hardcore profession. So today, if you're talking about meeting somebody at 1 o'clock, you need to be there at 1 o'clock. If you have promised a delivery, you have to give that delivery. So you have to balance between the emotion and the logic if you want a successful career. And if you have enough money and you're not bothered about money, and you want to play all through your life, then don't bother about anything, just keep playing. But if you have to sustain, if you need to earn money and also play music through music, you have to have a certain amount of discipline. Critically important. And also it is very important, I think, to understand the copyright laws. What you were asking in the morning. It is extremely important for artists of any sort to understand intellectual property rights, need to understand royalties. Then artists need to understand legal contracts, because an artist, many times I'm aware of many artists across the world who have probably signed a piece of paper not knowing what he is signing, and end of they lost everything. So artist needs to be slightly more updated with information, which only helps him to secure himself.
Now, is it helpful for artists to also to probably take up some courses on law and?
Then you don't remain an artist anymore. No, but maybe a little reading up here and there. Maybe you can go to friends, you can read up on the net. Today the world is there, open in
yes.
front. So you can do some study, meet people who have contracts. So take advices from people who have signed a contract, who understand these aspects. It is important. It is very important.
How about yourself? When you first performed, as a blues guitar player, did you have to encounter signing some contracts?
Oh, no,
and all that?
I performed with a friend of mine when I was in school itself. Those days people never even bothered about anything.
Really?
No.
No.
Nothing.
So in India,
There was
doesn't-
no money. There was the first show didn't have any money.
Oh, but
Even the 10th show didn't have any money. It was all free shows.
but in India, do you guys actually exercise on contracts?
Oh yeah. The contracts are extremely important. Contracts are important. Every concert would have an agreement. Every record label or a release would have an agreement,
Mhm.
and very important. And it's taken care very professionally.
Now, how important is artist management today, and what is artist management?
See, again, artist management comes from that concept of let the artist be an artist, let him be as emotional as he wants to be, and there's a bunch of people who manage his business.
Mhm.
They are the people who decide what show to go for, where to do what, how the branding should be done. So a lot of exercises happen where the artist is not involved, which has happened with almost all top bands in the world. That is important, I think. At a stage, when you are at that kind of popularity, and you also want to indulge in the art form completely. You don't want to get into the nitty-gritties of papers and signings, but then you need a trustworthy team. But yet, I feel you should have an understanding of with whom you're signing the contract. What is the content of the contract? Because end of the day, just to be an artist and to in my complete sense of freedom, I suddenly sign a paper and I have lost all 80% of my royalty to a guy or a company without knowing. So that's not smart.
Now, how about for an artist who can't afford a manager, and most artists struggle with the definition of artist management. Now, could you elaborate a little bit? What does it take to be an artist manager, especially for those whose friends are artists and they're going to help their friends, to manage them?
Well, it happens in different ways in different parts of the world. In India, I'm aware of a lot of artists being managers themselves. That would mean an artist himself is performing with a band and would be also managing about I'm aware of somebody who manages about 200, 300 odd bands, which is large, which is huge. But gradually now what is happening is you have a lot of lawyers, legal experts, who are venturing into this area of artist management, intellectual property rights. I think that's more smarter, because they are qualified to take care. So, and in the West, you see a manager is actually probably a lawyer or a guy with a fair amount of understanding about branding, marketing, merchandising. He comes from a corporate space. He understands the entire business. So it has to be somebody who, end of the day, like I said, should understand the business, should understand the legalities of the business. Preferably a legal expert is the best, but that is gradually happening. But there are, like I said, there are artists also who manage other bands. Established artists also managing upcoming artists. That is also a trend.
Yes, but what is the role of an artist manager really? Because for those artists, especially new artists who came out and they just produce an album for themselves and they don't have an artist manager because they can't afford it, but they want to understand what is an artist manager and the role.
See, okay, now you have an album. Now what do you do with the album? Now your album which you recorded in the studio sitting at home makes no sense. So this album has to go out in public. It has to be in the shelves where people can buy it from. How do people buy it from? So there has to be a record label involved in it, which is a record company who releases like a publisher releasing a book. It is like a record company releasing that album. So because that record company will now, I think the record company should, I would say, give you relevant amount of publicity, should position you, should give you a tour which promotes the album, and they should launch the album. Which means they should have a distribution network. It is almost like a fast-moving consumer good network. You have to have a network to reach to all parts of the country or the world to put your CD on the shelf so that people can buy.
Yes.
So it's a hardcore business. It's a hardcore business. So who manages? Who decides for the artist? Who negotiates for the artist? It is the artist manager who does.
But then, in the case of Singapore and other emerging markets, in this part of the world, in Southeast Asia, they don't have such structures in place, unlike like India.
Well, in India, it's just happening. I mean, whatever I'm saying, in India, it is also just about happening.
Yeah, that's right.
But I think in Asia, it must happen. It must happen. You must have. Also, record companies also should take the responsibilities on their shoulder of not only making money. Money is definitely important for record companies. They should also choose, promote, select artists, do talent scout. Where you go pick up talent.
But how about artists themselves who are not popular and they don't have a record company, but they have albums sitting there? So they're trying to understand what is the role of them being a artist manager.
So either they do the artist management themselves or they have to hire somebody. And everywhere, I think, till a certain stage rather, you have to be your artist manager. Till the time you identify and get a proper artist manager. So the artist himself has to balance two roles. So when you're playing your rock and roll or your blues, you're completely in your emotional mind. Moment you stop playing and you got your CD and you're talking to a record company, you can't be emotional. Then your logical mind has to work.
Yes.
So, but that is tough for an artist. I mean, ask
Yes.
me, and I know. I mean, it's
You-
very
you-
tough.
You've been there, I know.
But it's tough.
Now, let's move forward. The future of music. Now that music is now also being placed in digital formats as well, especially the internet, iTunes, and so forth. Where do you see music moving on from there? Do you see that many of the record companies will soon, try to say, becoming more and more irrelevant, or do you think that record companies, as well as the artists, are going to go on a digital format?
We can't stop the world going digital. Though I from that era where I feel the old records would have a lot more warmer, brighter sound, but that's a different game. I am personally of strong belief that the record companies are going to get irrelevant soon. I'm also of the strong belief that artists gradually will stop making money from sales of albums. It'll be free download. Artists will make money by the way of concerts, performances, by endorsements, by taking production or various kind of productions, which means you're producing music for somebody. But gradually, I don't think the record company, because end of the day, because there's so much of piracy. Even if you try and block it, how many people buy music today? They all download. And how many people pay and download? Very few people pay and download. I think out of 1,000, you will have 5 people probably paying and downloading. Everybody is doing illegal download. So end of the day, if this can't be controlled, I don't see any relevance of the record company.
Is that happening in India as well?
Across the world, I guess.
Oh,
Across the world.
so
How about Singapore? I'm sure.
I think Singapore's the same and
Same.
everywhere else.
Everywhere is the
All
same
the same.
story.
So, what advice would you give for someone who wants to be like you? What would be the 3 key things you would give them?
See, I am a strong believer of. I have led a completely emotional life, and I have suffered financially. I have suffered a lot. That's why I had to come to Delhi from Calcutta. I mean, I was on the streets absolutely. So just playing music did not give me any money, and I was completely emotionally, physically.